Have you ever heard of an Egyptian walking onion? You know, I grow a lot of vegetables and edibles here in the allotment garden, but some of them I grow mainly just out of interest. These aren't huge producers, and they don't actually grow a big bulb at the base like other onions, but what they do form are these little tiny onionettes at the tops of their stems. And that's how the Egyptian walking onion got its name. It forms them at the tops of the stems, and then when this gets really heavy and the stem starts to brown and wither, they just kind of topple over. These fall to the ground and start new plants. So from the parent plant, these little babies will walk in all directions off. And they're not really invasive, but they will form onions the next year. And I've found them sprouting in February before. Very interesting. And you can use the little bulbils or onionettes in any kind of cooking that you would use onions or garlic in, and they fit perfectly into a garlic press. So that's a tip that I have for using these. Now, it has been incredibly dry here in the garden. 2 months of practically no rain at all. 2 days ago, we got a really good downpour though, so the garden's looking really fresh and revived, which is why I thought it would be a good time to have a walk around the garden to see what's growing. And then, like in all of my garden tour videos, we're going to have a walk around our site. This is a community garden after all, and look to see what other people are growing and get some inspiration for ourselves. So first up, we're going to walk around mine, and then we'll get to the other plots here at the Laxey allotment. All of the hard work earlier this year is starting to pay off. The garden looks so good right now. I'm very proud of it. The bees are loving it. It's producing lots of food and lots of flowers as well. You'll see over here that the comfrey that came down in the storm has rebounded over in the wildlife area. The pond has been producing quite a bit of extra weed, and I've been bailing out water to use to water plants, but you can see there's still some weed. It's not too bad. I think my method of bailing out water and then refilling it has been keeping on top of the weeds taking over. So making this still a very hospitable place for wildlife and indeed other members' dogs. So I have a dog that comes and visits when its owner is here at the allotment, and he loves drinking out of the pond. I have carrots and some parsnips under this veggie mesh, and I've yet to pull any of them. There's quite a few carrots that have germinated, but it's been very hit or miss, as you can see over here. I did sow that with carrot seed not too long ago. So I thought maybe we could come in here and see if we can pull one up. Let's see, maybe this one? I need my other hand. Ooh. There we go. This is a kind of a pale yellow one out of the rainbow carrots mix. That looks good. It's a good size for roasting or sauteing with some other veggies. Let's pull another one, see what color we get. Maybe the one right next to it. Will it be the same color, or will it be a different one? This one has bigger stems on it. Let's give it a yank. Ooh. Very similar color, but this one's actually a white carrot out of that same rainbow mix. So you can see the difference there. It's much bigger. I did sow a lot of purple haze carrots in here, but they're probably these ones over here that are still quite young. So I'll leave those. You know what? 3 is a much better number than 2, I think. Let's pull a third one and see what color we get. Oh, look, it's one of the purple haze ones. Oh, I like that color. So imagine these 3 all together on a serving platter with many more of their sisters and brothers. How delicious. Next to the carrots, I have a wigwam of French and runner beans. And they're producing already, look at that. I love eating them straight off of the plants. There should be some really big ones down here too. Oh, look at that. I love growing my own food. Oh, look at this. That's a biggie. Nice and tender. We've been eating these already. And at this stage, these runner beans are perfect. They're a good size, but they're still tender. And in comparison, the other type. There are a lot of leaves in this wigwam, but they're not all beans. And so I've put a squash here and another one over there. That's a summer squash, a yellow courgette zucchini. And it looks like it's produced something. Let's go over and have a peek. With these, I just twist them off the plant like so. Look at that. Good size. We're gonna have pizza again tonight, some homemade pizza, and this will go great on top. Just below the beans, I have even more courgettes. So there's some patty pan types in here, and also another yellow one, and I've just seen, holy moly, that wasn't that big yesterday. These guys grow in leaps and bounds, so here is another yellow courgette. Let's give it a good twist. Something icky there, we'll just rub that off. Look at that. Now, in comparison, let's get the other little one, put it next to it. So this other one is quite a bit bigger, and it's a little bit bigger than I like to pick, but you know what? When you have a few courgettes or zucchinis, they'll get to this size and way bigger. Gosh, it looks so green and lush. But have a look at the paths here at the top. Look at all of that brown grass. The only reason that my garden is looking as good as it is because of mulch and because I've been diligent with watering it. So let's have a look here in the top bed. This is my herb bed, and I have quite a few going on here. I've got chamomile, calendula, 2 different types of mint, lemon balm, oregano or oregano as people call it, rosemary, sage and chives, and also some dill. And this has sprung on in recent weeks. Look at that. I'm going to be using some of this to make some dill pickles, since I've got some good cucumbers on the go. And look at all of this calendula. And some of these flowers are starting to go over. You can see here. I'm going to pick these off because I want these plants to produce more flowers. And I'm going to pick all the flowers off today. And I'm going to dry them because the petals are fantastic for making handmade kind of healing creams and natural skincare. It's a really gentle skin herb. And they come in various colors. This year I've got a few different types, and there's the yellow ones here, and then the more raggedy orange ones in the distance. I actually prefer the orange ones because they tint oils a much more pleasant color, but they have the same healing properties. This is chocolate mint that I planted a few videos ago. And then over here I have peppermint, and they're in their own individual pots. And I've had quite a few comments from people worrying that the roots will intermingle much further down in the soil and that it will affect the flavor. I'm going to take that into consideration. I might move these, and I might put the peppermint in another bed and maybe larger pots, but for now I'm just going to let them do their thing. But the chocolate mint, it's really growing on. This is the one that I prefer of the two. It's something new to me, and it smells like a chocolate mint. Not exactly, but there's that reminiscent chocolateness about it. If you have any recipes using chocolate mint, please leave them as a comment down below because I'm very interested in trying this out. I had the peas in this bed, if you recall, and I've just had to take them out. They went over with all the dry weather that we're having, but there are plenty of lettuces in here still, and also chard and some turnips. Down here, the chard is doing fantastic, and it really held its own through all of that dry weather. Where other greens were really struggling, they just kept powering on. And I've got several different colors. Let's go underneath the netting, get a little closer look. So I've got some ruby chard there, some yellow stemmed, a more traditional color here. That one as well, more ruby. And these just came in a rainbow chard mix that I actually got for Christmas. The white cabbage butterflies have been desperately trying to get through this netting and lay their eggs on my brassicas, but they've failed. Now it is a worry when the leaves are touching the netting like this, because there's a possibility that they could lay eggs on areas that are touching, but I've been keeping an eye on them. Now the cabbages look great. They've been nibbled on by slugs, it looks like a little bit, but that's not going to deter me. I'm going to be making a big batch of sauerkraut here very soon. Love sauerkraut. Purple sprouting broccoli in the center. They won't be producing until winter, early spring next year, but it's well worth the wait. I've been eating kale already. You know, they say that it tastes better after the first frost. To be honest, I don't know if that's true or not. I like it in the summer and in the winter. I think what makes it better in the winter is that there's not much else in the garden, so maybe that makes it sweeter. And then down on the far end, these are the red Brussels sprouts. And they were knocked over in a recent storm, but they've rebounded. And they'll get much taller. And they'll start forming Brussels sprouts along the stem later in the summer and then produce over the winter. Those will look gorgeous on the plate. I'll be growing Christmas potatoes again this year. Start those off next month. And so maybe we'll have some homegrown Brussels sprouts and Christmas potatoes this year for the holidays. I've been pulling up no-dig potatoes as I need them. These worked out really well. I think, was it 2 videos ago? I showed how I was lifting them up easily. My first year trying the technique. I thought it looked a bit of a mess, but I'm sold on this idea. It's so easy to grow potatoes this way. And my pallet trellis for the cucumbers is working a treat. Again, there's lots of lettuce underneath. And then the cucumbers are growing up the face. And I've been helping them out a bit, so they haven't quite found it on their own, but I've been kind of readjusting where they're growing. And this is giving them some much needed space to grow on. So I'll just come up here and pull the leaves and adjust where they're growing. Let's see if there's any cucumbers for us to pick. I thought I spotted some from underneath here. Oh yes, there's one there. I think I might leave that one to grow a little bit bigger. But there might be some more under here. Oh yes, I see you. I see you, I'm coming. And there we go. That's a good one. Along the side of my new plot, and also the bottom of my current, or my older plot, are lots of thornless blackberries. And these are well worth growing. Not only are they thornless, but the berries are huge, and I find that they're way sweeter than the wild ones. They're so good. And then also we've got some black currants here. I've not had as much time for my new plot this year as I would like, but I've got it tidy and I've planted some pumpkins in here. They've got a good rest of the summer to produce. And what I've done, instead of digging over this area, is I just laid some landscaping fabric over the grass and the weeds. So you can see it here. And I've just covered it with wood chips. And then planted my squash in holes that I made in the fabric. And they're putting on lots of flowers. Oh look, there's a bumblebee inside that one. Pollinate, little guy, pollinate. And I don't really like using plastic in the garden, but I have put these kind of plastic oyas in, and this is a desperate measure for these squash and pumpkins. So I've cut slits into the sides of the bottle, sunk it down with the plant, and then when I water these guys, I water the bottle too, and that gets water straight to the roots. But I will be making sure to take these out at the end of the summer, because plastic in the allotment is a huge problem. There's a video that I've made on that as well, and forgetting about plastic and just letting it being whipped around by winter storms causes a lot of litter and pollution. But if you are conscious about it, then I suppose it is a good solution, something like this. Right, so we've had a look at my growing space. Let's have a walk around the site and see what we can find. So good to see everyone's plots looking so good. Very productive. These folks just started their plot this year, and it is crazy the progress they've made. They've terraced the entire plot, have put in a wooden gate. There's lots of greens in there, lots of leeks, potatoes. If you have the time on your hands and the determination, you really can get it done in one season. But if you don't have it, just a little bit at a time works just as well. Those onions look ginormous. These look great. Look at how well spaced they are and how weed-free they are as well. It's really important when you want to grow really big onions. More beans and brassicas. Curly kale down there under the net. I find that plantings that have lots of different plants, whether they're veg or apple trees, flowers, blueberries, and then herbs and vegetables, when they're planted together, they really seem to support one another so much better than if they were planted on their own. And these little areas, as I walk around the site, these are the lushest and greenest of all the growing spaces. So after all that dry weather, these ones came out the best. This is our association chairman's plot, and it is beautiful. So many different flowers and edibles. I see cosmos and borage, sunflowers and lavender, sweet peas, onions. This plot is his too, and I love his use of branches here to create a place for his beans to grow on. And then over in the distance, we have even more peas, lots of bees, soft fruit up there, raspberries, it looks like, and some currants. Lots of lush growth in this plot as well. Lots of beetroot here in the front, squash, potatoes, brassicas. Even in a small space, like down on this end, you have a lot of food being grown. This is such a lovely little productive space on the far side of our site. And it's well protected against wildlife, and we have plenty of it. We've got pheasants and rabbits, lots of different types of birds, and more recently, a wallaby was spotted in the area. The Isle of Man has a population of wild wallabies, believe it or not. Those are those mini kangaroos. They are escapees from the wildlife park, and one was spotted not far away from the allotment recently. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tour around my garden and also the other plots here at the allotment. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and let me know as a comment below what you thought or if you have any questions. And also, I've created a new playlist and I'll put a link up on the screen, so up there, and it will be all of my garden tour videos. I tend to do one every month, and then I also visit other people's gardens. So more recently, I visited the medicinal herb garden at Craignish, the Hidden Gardens tour, and I have another really interesting video coming up very soon as well. So head over there and get even more gardening inspiration. Thank you so much for watching this time, and I will see you next week here on the Lovely Greens YouTube channel. We'll be back again with another gardening video just for you. See you then.